So we have with us this evening Charles Williams, graduate of Clover Park Technical College, I believe. I want to say spring quarter of 22.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. I'm losing my mind, but I still remember things, especially how to get home. That's very important. So especially at my age. So Charles works at a state entity, and he's joining us today to discuss all about desktop support, maybe how he landed the job, um, share some feedback on what his day-to-day job looks like, maybe some experiences. We have another guest with us. We'll introduce later. We have Don Souza, Jody Randall. Jody Randall's our podcast producer and editor, and my name is Jay. So Charles, I'm going to hand it over to you. You came and visited the classroom virtually a couple weeks ago. People were, uh, I wouldn't just say impressed, but they really had a lot of details that came from that discussion, that classroom discussion, and I'm kind of hoping that you could share those with us today.
Yeah, and so you want me to start from the beginning, basically?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So I originally was a Boeing machinist, and so got hurt. Figured all this computer stuff was basically a hobby, and so it was a no-brainer to kind of say, hey, you know what? Let's retrain and do this. And so I landed at Clover Park in I want to say was that 2020, just shortly after COVID started, about a year. And so went through the program. Serious case of imposter syndrome because literally like all leading up to starting the program, I was like, man, I'm 50 years old. No, there's no way I'm going to do this. So I went into it, thinking, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this. But as time progressed, and the wonderful instructors at Clover Park, were there to kind of assist me. And so, yeah, I
What
learned a
is
lot.
imposter syndrome, though?
What is imposter syndrome? From what
Yeah,
I
because some
understand,
people may not know.
it's from what I understand, it's when you don't feel like you're up to the task or you don't feel like you have the skills to tackle whatever it is you're trying to tackle. And in my case, even though I've been around computers most of my life, going into it, I mean, you got to remember this is probably the first time I've gone to schools in 20 plus years. And so that alone was scary. And then now you're talking about, oh, I'm going to turn something that I really like to do into a job. And so that was another part. And then after that, it was like, it's been so long since I've gone to school. I don't know if I can do this. And so that was all the kind of things that was racing through my mind when I started. And but slowly over time, um, I just kind of put my head down, started grinding. Went to class, listened to instructors, realized that hey, maybe I can do this. And so kind of as you progress through the class and stuff, you get more confident. And I want to say it was probably second quarter. I heard Jay start talking about this thing called a cyber defense competition, and so he's talking about it. And I think second quarter, I think if I remember right, he goes, "I'm looking for someone to lead the team," and he literally spits my name out, and I'm like, imposter syndrome just goes off. I'm like, oh my god, no, I can't do this. There's no way in hell I can do this. It took me about 6 months from that point to finally realize that maybe I can do this. That's just because the program at school there, the way it was set up, it allowed me to kind of learn at my own pace, get good feedback from instructors, other students, because we had a Discord channel set up. And yeah, after that, it was just kind of like, okay, I can do this. But imposter syndrome was always right there on my shoulder. Every time something else came up, it was like, I don't know if you can do this, but yeah, I pretty much any challenge that kind of came up during my schooling time there, I was able to either tackle myself, consult other students, or even the faculty. So that's so after I want to say what was it, 7 or 8 months, we entered our first cyber defense competition. I want to say it was Hive Storm, and so yeah, I was scared, but afterwards, I have to say it was really fun because imposter syndrome kicked in, but then, it was one of those situations where you're like, okay, you know what, you're here, let's just do this. And so I learned a lot from that. Um, shortly after that, I was tabbed for a internship with Jay, and I really learned a lot with that, doing that as well. And so he had me setting up a Windows Deployment Server project, and that's when I kind of realized that okay, maybe this computer thing is for me because I kept hitting roadblock after roadblock, and I just kept grinding and pushing through. And I think finally, like the last week, I got it. But it was just a bunch of stuff going on. But yeah, once I got that, it was like the greatest sense of accomplishment. And so that kind of propelled me into the final month of school. And after I graduated, um, then another, I started thinking, oh my God, now I actually got to go out and get a job. And so I started thinking about a lot of stuff that I learned over the course of the program. And one thing that still stands out to me today, we had a guest speaker come in from the Department of Health. And up to that point, I was sitting there thinking, man, what am I going to do? I want to get this job. How am I going to land this job? Well, the one thing that stuck with me, he said, when you get out there, you're gonna apply for a bunch of jobs. You're gonna a lot of them you're probably not gonna land. But he goes, you got to keep this in mind. The first job that you get is not the job that you want, but it's the job that you need. And I didn't truly understand that until I think I had applied for probably a dozen jobs, and I was getting interviews, but it just I wasn't getting over that hump. And come to find out that a lot of them were looking for. I mean, I had the soft skills, things like that, but they were looking for a little bit more experience. And so I think it was Jay who recommended the CMAR job, which is the first job I landed. He recommended that to me. And so at first I was like, man, the pay's kind of low. I don't know. But then I started thinking about that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take his advice and go ahead and take this job. And that was probably, in my case, the best decision I made because it was the perfect environment for me to learn in. Um, I got that 1 year of experience I need because literally a year after I started there, I applied for the job at the state entity, and that one went so much smoother than any of my other interviews. It was literally like, got in, first interview, boom, second interview, boom, and then about a week later, they called back and offered me the job. So I was like, wow, that advice really did help me a lot. And so I try to pass that on now to some people. They can take it however they want, because some people say, oh, yeah, no, I know people that have landed jobs right out of school. And, yeah, they might have been lucky. But in my case, I took that advice to heart, and that's how I ended up at the state entity. And yeah, I really like it. And so let me get into kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'll start off at CMAR. There, we just did basically help desk, desktop support. It was it was a good learning experience because it wasn't tiered off. And so, you have like you go to some places to work, it's tier one, tier two support, tier three support. There it was literally like I was hired in as a tier one, but we took whatever calls came in. You worked whatever, it could be an issue that generally would go to a tier three support person, but you'd have to kind of work your way around, talk to people, try to get answers, and try to get some help for the person calling in. And so I
What a
learned a
great
lot.
training ground.
What's
What a
that?
great training ground,
Yeah, and
to kind of get, your hands dirty with all, tier one through tier three. It's such a
yeah,
wide variety that you can see that maybe some of those tier two, tier three issues that you could probably handle, but you couldn't.
right, right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And also, what kind of caught me off guard though was the training process. There was and it's similar to where I'm at now, but it's literally like I sat next to a person for a week, and then they just literally like, okay, you took some notes. Here's your phone. Just have at it. And they're like, you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make mistakes, but that's how you learn. And so it probably took me a good couple months to feel comfortable there. And then after that, it's just like I kept learning, started getting better, better, and better and better. And then after what 6, 7, 8 months, I was really comfortable. And obviously, I was still getting calls that I didn't know the answer. So you have to reach out to either more senior employees or like your lead or manager. But yeah, it was a good starting point. And so after that. I started job searching aggressively probably 7 months in. I wasn't actively looking, but I was like, you know what? Okay, I kind of want to start a targeted job at a state entity. I wasn't sure where. Obviously, I'd like to get somewhere close to home, but just to get in the door, I was willing to drive wherever, not wherever, but I kind of set my limits to like the capital and in that area. And so after I think I got that job posting, I want to say 10 months in, and then I applied, and it took about a month and a half before I got hired in. And so I started June 1st at the state entity. That's where I met our next guest, and then that's how we kind of got to ended up here today because we got to talking about school and people that we knew, like Jay and you guys. And so yeah, there I'm literally not restarting because I have a little bit of a background. So but I'm just learning at this point. I'm learning their systems and the way they do things, and it's not totally different, but it's a really it's it's different, and in a positive way though, because in my last job it was a little bit unstructured, where here it's a little bit more structured, so I have to get used to that as well. But yeah, like right now, since they set me loose, um, I've been trying, I've been working tickets, taking calls, really just trying to get comfortable at this point. And it's been probably 2 weeks since they set me loose, and I'm a lot more comfortable today than I was that first day, because even though I'd taken calls for a year, it's different, and even like some of the troubleshooting stuff that I would take for granted and do at my old job, I have to sit there and think like, oh yeah, that's what I got to do. There's days when I'll forget something that I used to do like every day, 5, 6 times a day, but then like someone like Marcus or someone would say, hey, that's what you do here. And I'm like, oh, that's right. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to get comfortable. But yeah, generally, that's all I do. I'll take calls, answer, get tickets out of the queue. And if I have a question, I'll fire it off. I'm not shy. And so yeah, so far so good though. I like the new job, the new environment, and the people there. So that's kind of where I'm at today. You know.
So what's the I guess the biggest support issue that you've had to face? Is it printers? Is it people not knowing like this is how things work, or is it a customer issue? Is it a hardware issue? Uh,
For me,
pick,
it's
yeah,
probably, I want to say, initially I took things, I took a lot of things for granted. So some of it was on me, where I would, like, people that I'm working with now would tell me, okay, you can't take for granted that these people are going to know this. Or you can't take for granted that everything that they're telling you is true. You can't take it at face value. So that was something I had to get used to, because I was always made the assumption of like, come on, man, everybody knows how to do that, right? And that's not the case.
right,
Even at my
yeah,
last job, it was literally like, I think I told the story when I visited your class. I said I was on a support call at my old job with someone. I was literally on this call for 20 minutes, and 15 of those minutes was me trying to get her to hard power down a computer. After like 12 minutes and just peppering her with questions, come to find out she was trying to power down the monitor and
yeah,
not the actual PC.
yeah,
And so I
yeah,
took
it's
it for
true.
granted. I got to stop taking stuff for granted, because this lady literally didn't know what I was talking about when I was telling her, hey, the computer box, the PC, you need to turn that off. She thought it was the monitor. So yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
just that, taking things for granted. And I think the other thing is probably sometimes I tend to try to take on too much, and I'll overwhelm myself with not necessarily information, but I'll know what to do, but I'll be so overwhelmed in the moment that I'll forget what I'm supposed to be doing. Like if I'm supposed to do this, and I've done it a dozen times, it won't come to my mind that, hey, try this or try this or try this. I'll literally like focus on the end or something over here when it's like literally, hey, like a couple times I think Marcus even told me, did you have her restart the computer? No. Hey, can you restart the computer? Boom, issue resolved. Right. But I
Sure.
jumped like 3 steps ahead and made things a little bit more convoluted for the person. So yeah, I think it's just most of it. In my case, it's just me. You do run into situations where users frustrate you, um, and in my case, it's usually the frustrated user that that bugs me the most. It's because I'm trying to help them, but it's almost like they don't want to be helped. And so at that point, you're like, okay, I gotta step back, calm down a little bit, because
Yeah.
this is gonna be a minute,
Yeah.
you know.
I think they don't trust, it's not you personally, they don't trust that you can help them solve the problem
Right,
because they've
right.
already tried. It's outside their knowledge base. They're frustrated. They got work to do. They got to make a phone call, so you're just in their way.
Right.
Um, and it's not personal. It's just people have bad days.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's times where you'll like at my old job, you can put them on mute. They think they're on hold, but you'll put them on mute to go and speak with someone, and you can literally hear them say, "Oh yeah, that guy doesn't know what he's doing." He's and you're sitting there
That's
thinking,
right, right, honey. I'm
Why
on
did
the
you call me?"
right.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I know us instructors, faculty, we do say at the start of the quarter, we assume that you know nothing. And I think that's the best practice because you have all different levels of employees, students, fixing grandma's computer,
right.
never fixed a computer, don't even know what a computer is. And if you just assume that they know nothing, and which is leading to my question, do you guys operate off of a checklist, like a process, or is it wild, wild west?
Um,
It's not really a
well,
setup question. Our other guest is like, oh man, I really would answer that.
yeah,
But
I mean, yeah, he'll probably be able to give you more insight, at least at the
yeah,
state entity, because I know at my previous job, there was no checklist. There was
yeah,
things that you did if
it's
things
hard.
came up. Like if it
Checklists
was
are
an
never
Outlook
recommended.
issue, it was like boom. But yeah, there was no checklist. It was literally
Yeah, and
like,
that's good. It gives you the freedom to problem solve. And the reason why I bring
yeah,
that up, which initially sounded like a setup, so imagine calling a major satellite company that has offshored their tech support, and they're running a checklist on your issue, and and please restart your cable modem. Please restart your radio. And you know that you've restarted this thing 20, 30 times. And I'm like, hey, uh, just let me talk to someone that can help me. You don't tell me to restart this again. And that's why you're getting that frustrated person because they were handled improperly prior by someone other than you and the other guest speaker that's here. So I guess that's my 2 cents on it. Is never assume that they know anything. Always assume that everyone knows nothing.
yeah, I've gotten to that point now. It just took a minute because I mean, prior to that, you're dealing with like-minded people. Like you're like going to school. You're
Yeah,
dealing with like-minded people. So the basics and the fundamentals are most of the time are there, and so you just get caught up in that. And then when
and
you
your
have to go deal with
customer
actual
thinks
people, you
your computer is a toaster, and they want to put bread in it. Hit the button. Then Charles, I just want toast, man. This thing's not making toast.
Yeah, yeah. I think your other guest was telling me a story, and I'll let him tell it. But yeah, someone had made a comment similar to that about a computer, and yeah, I don't think you'll ever get a good response when you demand something to be done,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's true.
So
Everybody
yeah,
digs in their heels, right?
right,
And I
right.
know I never do. Well, okay, maybe a little bit. As Don's sighing over there, Jay digs in his heels all the time. So
Oh man,
Charles,
yeah.
you were one of the students that helped bring Discord kind of to the forefront.
Huh?
Our other guest this evening didn't even have that opportunity. It was all face to face. All the collaboration was we had to wait to collaborate. And it was kind of an odd experience, but it seemed very normal and natural to us where I think that we're working harder now virtually and sometimes face to face and sometimes really not. But access has become easier between students and their communication and sharing of that information. And you believe it or not, you were a big part of that, and you still are behind the scenes being a moderator. And that was your server that we kind of shifted from one server to another server. And not only am I going to tell you we still appreciate it, but what kind of advice would you give students that kind of feel, like, well, I thought I'd be good at this. I probably don't know what I'm doing. I'm scared to reach out for help. I say Discord's a great platform because it's anonymous. You don't have to speak to your big, scary, hairy, or bald, in my case, instructors. You could just make a comment on Discord, and I demonstrated it all the time, even yesterday, I believe. Hey, I need help with this on Monday. And, boom, people respond right away. So what kind of advice would you give the future student that hasn't even shown up yet, on how to collaborate with a group that's been through a pandemic?
Um, Specifically, yeah, like with Discord, I think that's kind of how that came to my forefront of my mind was that I was that person. Um, I didn't like to speak in front of a classroom, and so I was like, you know what? If I can get behind the keyboard and treat it like an online game where you don't know, you don't know these people, but they can't see you, they don't know who you are, and so
Yeah,
for a
you're
while,
anonymous.
yeah, exactly. And so, for a while there, we had nicknames and things like that. But yeah, I would say, that's probably it helped me open up a lot. And so, I mean, and I think you guys could probably see that from the beginning of the program to the end. A lot of us started to open up and participate. And some of the participation too, I kind of put it on myself because I was like, I don't want to get called on when Jay is saying, "Hey, I need an answer." If I don't get an answer, so I'm going to call on somebody. So I was just
Yeah,
like,
we've
you
talked
know,
about this. Yeah.
it was
It is
similar to
better to be
that.
wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Well, I was trying to treat it like an icebreaker,
sure.
and so like with the Discord situation, um, I got to a point where there was a couple times where I struggled a lot, and not a lot in a sense of like I didn't feel like I could didn't I couldn't do it, but I hit roadblocks. And to be honest with you, if I was had to say anything to a future student or anyone that's coming in, take advantage of it because there was times where some of the finals, like server finals and things like that, I was stuck, and it was something little, but I was so overwhelmed that it was like I don't know where to go with this. I can Google stuff, but then I said, you know what? Let me post in Discord and see if someone's willing to step up. And so I did it the first time, and then I noticed that, oh wow, a couple of students came in. Even I think a couple of students that were just graduating chimed in. And so they didn't always give me the direct answer, but they usually gave me a nudge to say, hey, check this. And so it was literally like that. It wasn't even like, we're constantly chatting. I would just drop a question, and you may
Yeah.
not get it immediately, but within like the end of the day, maybe in the morning, you'd get an answer. And a lot of times, I want to say 99% of the time, the answers that I got, got pushed me through the roadblock. And so after that, I started using it, and then I started to try to get some of my other classmates involved because they were, there was times where you would get a private message from someone, and I would have an answer, but I would say, hey, you know what, post it on the Discord because then you don't get just one person looking at it. You get like all of your other classmates who are there, and chances are you may get the person that doesn't like to speak or is afraid to speak to answer the question. And then once that ice is broken, they just kind of, it continues. And so when we first started the channel, it wasn't very lively, but towards the end of the program, people that generally weren't speaking started to post, and sometimes it'd be just little teeny little comments. But at some point, some of those people would just start asking questions. Because I had one student, a fellow student that I knew was probably one of the shyest people I've known because I helped her behind the scenes a couple times with some stuff, and so she eventually started breaking out and asking questions and chatting in Discord. And so just definitely take advantage of it. Try to push through. If you're afraid, don't be. Just look at it this way. Hey, nobody really. You're still anonymous, even though the name is there, because it's not like you're going to show up the next day and 20 people are going to be looking at you because you asked this question. You're literally just, just treat it like this. I need the question answered. Drop your question. Someone's going to answer it. And it's probably going to be either a fellow student or even faculty. So, definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's not like they're looking at you because you got a bald head or something like that.
No. And to be honest with you, a lot of times that same question, there's other students that have it as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the deal. Is there's no silly or stupid questions, and the other thing too is it's definitely a confidence booster. You kind of get to the point to where the normal is now comfortable to interact with people in different ways, face to face, virtually. I would bet money that out of probably 10 clients that you guys work with, that 9 of them are over the phone. Yeah, maybe 10.
You mean on a day-to-day kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, like today, I want to say, yeah, there was quite a few calls today, but they weren't. It wasn't anything over the top. It was just basic stuff. But yeah, it's some days are like.
How much face-to-face time do you have with your customers actually visiting them?
I don't know. Like today, 2 people came in to get cameras. That's about it. And then I think
Okay.
or last week, yeah, not very often. Like I don't go out though a lot, and so some of these other guys do go out and interact with folks. The only time I went out so far, I've either shadowed Marcus or somebody else like that. But I'm sure at some point it'll
Yeah,
become.
you got to watch out for that Marcus guy, man. Let me tell you, we haven't even introduced him yet.
But yeah, it's
failure, my friend, setting you up for failure.
Right.
He's good people, though. I tell you, he is. I haven't even known him that long, so.
I think I see Don's lips moving, but he's muted. Not a rookie mistake, not at all.
I said, I'm still waiting on zoo tickets.
Those days have come.
Yeah, I transitioned from there about 2 years ago. I'm sorry.
Yep, that ship is sailed.
Gonna hit the zoo lights. I know people love that.
What a great time to introduce Marcus, though. So yeah. So Marcus, bartender.
Yeah.
In your former life, showed up at the doors of Clover Park in 2018.
I believe so. 2018, 2017, one of the two.
Yeah, you got your second quarter start in 2018.
Yeah.
It's a winter quarter. I may have no hair, but I still have good memory. Oh. And what's that?
You're all still exactly as I remember you. And that's a compliment. That's a compliment.
Okay. Yeah. We haven't changed much.
I no longer have to worry about my grades, so you can take this to heart. You all changed my life in an incredibly positive way.
Yes. I
totally agree. You really did. You really did. I hear the term imposter syndrome a lot. I never felt it. Never. Because once I got there, I knew what I was doing because you pounded it into me. Do it, and it just stuck. I don't know how, I don't know why, but once I got into the job, everything you guys taught me, it was still there, fresh as day. In fact, clearer because it was now part of my survival in life. So it's funny when I would do like your finals, Dawn, and you would want folders created for permissions, and I can sit there and conceptually say, I want to read this in the book, but when I'm at my job, I've got a limited amount of time to do it, and you just do it. And I think I look back a lot of times for new students as well. Don't be your own problem. You can do this. It's you. They told you it. It sounds almost too easy, maybe. Like it can't be this simple, right? Surely I must have forgotten a step. No, it's that easy. You put your policy in, and you put the name of the people in, and you move on, and it works. Nice. So yeah, thank you guys.
Well, you actually got.
But
Oh, I
I
remember.
remember there was a day someone told me to go to the start menu, and I didn't know where the start menu was. I had only used an Apple at that point in my life. I knew where the Apple menu was. I did not know where a Windows start menu was. So I think it was you, Jay. I think you thought I was joking. And
You
I
stood
don't
up
know.
and you said,
I
"I'm
was
not
not,
joking."
no, I'm
And
not
the
joking.
class went dead silent. And you had a hat on. I'm like, you know
Yeah,
what? This guy's going to be awesome because he's not afraid to get up and say exactly what the heck is going on. And I knew right then because this person, I won't say his last name, Joe, sat right next to you. And
yeah.
I knew right then that that's my guy to run the cyber defense competition. Because when it's really hard, he can stand up in front of everybody and not worry about feeling embarrassed and ask the hard questions. How do you
I
turn
will
it
say
on?
you do have to take ego out of it. If you want
Yeah,
to learn, you have to
yeah.
admit that you don't know. And
And
you can't,
pride.
the words I don't know do not mean I can't learn. It just
Yeah,
means I don't know. So if you want to know, ask the people who know, and you'll get there.
yeah,
Plus, it makes me more empathetic towards end users when they're calling me. It hasn't been so long that I didn't know. So I get it. I get it.
right. So if I wanted to find out the version of Windows that I'm running, how would I do that?
Okay. Log in on your computer. Can you take your
Yes, sir.
cursor?
Yes,
You go
sir.
down to the bottom left-hand corner. You're going to see 4 squares. That's your start menu. Why don't you click on that for me and type in WinVer,
Okay,
WinVer.
perfect.
Hit
So
enter. Tell me what it says.
right
Windows
now it's
98.
98 version beta, BETA, beta. So
we may need to re-image your
see,
computer.
right, PAZZUZU is the user. So in all seriousness, I can speak for everybody, all 6 of us, that it was our pleasure. All kidding aside, it was our pleasure because when uh, we when we know people are trying, we know people are there. They've got a one-shot opportunity to get this right, and
Yeah,
so we put in our best effort to make sure that you know uh, whoever you are, you're given the education that you pay for. So if you're committed, we are 110% committed right behind you. If you're not committed, we're going to maybe back off a little bit. We don't want to apply too much pressure, other stuff going on, but um, get it, not wanting really to get into all those dynamics. We are a passionate group, and it's also uh, pleasurable to speak to passionate former students that are doing so well right now.
yeah.
So
I think Charles, you'd probably agree. It was a good transition for me, at least, into a different career. It's a
Yes.
career I'll be able to do until
Yeah.
I'm in my late stages.
yeah, I mean, look at us. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
right.
I
Yeah,
can't
you're right.
because
'Cause
we're
if I
the
would have
same age. I don't know what
stayed
to
there,
say.
if I would have stayed at Boeing another 10 years, I'd probably be disabled. It was rough.
Yeah, right. That's the other thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some career choices you just have to make the decision where you got to change it, and some of careers are just not good for your health anyway. So um, there was another question I had, but obviously I forgot it in the late stages here. So uh,
Hey, Marcus, why don't you
Yeah.
tell us where you started out right out of coming out of school?
So yeah, this is something I did want to
Transition.
double back on because Charles, when you were talking about going out there, that was one thing. I don't know if that's something you can introduce into the program, but if you were to ask me specifically what the most difficult transition from graduating from the program and then getting out into the real world. It's the job interview process. So you think you know what they're looking for, but how do I put this? Without that experience, that actual job experience, the questions hit me at least differently. I can look back, look at the question now and say, oh God, I wouldn't have hired myself either. There was one specifically, I remember this question. I will always remember this question. It was similar to what you just asked me. How can I find the Windows version that I'm running? But they asked me, explain something to me that is difficult for someone to understand. I wasn't sure what they were asking me. I went, in a computer or technology sense? They said, no, just anything. Explain it to me in the best way you possibly can. So I explained wealth disparity, the difference between having money and not. I do not know why. I have no clue where it came from.
It was the first thing on your mind, man. I need this job really bad. Yeah.
This what divides the haves from the have-nots. I thought I did a wonderful job of explaining it.
I think it's a fair subject, actually.
I should have told them how to find Outlook when it's not pinned to the taskbar, But
right.
You don't know that. You don't know what they're actually looking for. I got better. I had probably 4 or 5 before I got comfortable. I specifically remember one. They had asked me, something to do with exchange management, which I hadn't had that much experience with at that point. And so I said, I don't know. And I heard one of the people say, oh, no, that's good. We like to hear, I don't know. So I said, oh, that's great. I can say that all through the rest of this interview. And they laughed. So I felt even better. So the next question came up and I said, I don't know. That was not what they wanted to hear. But I was getting more comfortable. I was getting a little bit more meat. And when you're doing what I'm assuming you're interviewing for in your first stage is usually customer support, something around that lines, help desk, customer support, something. And they want your soft skills to be pretty solid because you're going to be dealing with who knows who that person is on the other end of that phone. Could be somebody very important. Whoever it is, you want to treat them like they're the CEO. It doesn't matter. So as I kept going through and I kept getting more comfortable, I finally got offered a job and I didn't care. I just took it. I took it. I don't want to really name entities, but it was a good place to start. The official position's title was Senior Help Desk. Fine. But when I actually got there, it was more IT support. And I say that because we did not push images there. So if a computer had an issue and it needed a brand new operating system, I would have to take an individual USB, go to the location. Yes. I would have to image that computer and then proceed to run updates to bring that computer actually up to date. And yeah, so I tried to convince them that there was a better way. That was another thing I think, I don't know which one of you told me, but someone once told me part of my new job, whatever it is, don't worry what my administrator is doing. I took that to heart. I'm not worried about what they're doing. They're way above me. And I kind of learned to just do my job. So if they wanted me to take that single USB, I took the single USB. If I could have them bring me the computer to the office, I would do it in the office. But I just did the job. It was a great learning experience. I did hardware support. I did networking. I did the exchange management. I did, did everything and anything that a team of technicians would do because I was the only one on site.
Yeah, I think
Everyone
you did
else,
networking as well.
I did.
The,
Yeah, we
yeah,
had
yeah, I
a
remember that.
knock down. We had to rent a trailer, literally a trailer. That's it. And I had to bring a whole office into the trailer. Had to take the wiring, bring it in from where there was supposed to be a toilet hole underneath the bottom, do the cabling, set the switch and the router in a different area. Yeah, did it all. But that was my first job. This was my first job in IT. I couldn't have asked for a better experience because there was no one over my shoulder, and I learned so much because I had to. There was no one to lean on. I had nobody to say, hey, how, hey, who. I just, I took what you taught me. Like I said, I was just confident in that knowledge, and it just seemed to somehow work out. You taught me better than you knew, or at least better than I knew. Because once I got comfortable and once I knew things weren't blowing up around me, every day became better and better. I just, zero stress. It was exciting. It was a challenge. It was right before COVID. So that COVID experience was an experience. That was where I actually became desktop support. We went from having people who never worked remotely, never did Zoom meetings, or at that time, I think it wasn't even Zoom. It was, what's Microsoft before Teams?
Skype.
Skype.
Which I thought was funny that Skype never took off. This was built in. We already had it. Everybody needs to communicate. No one used Skype. Skype was garbage. That's how we knew. Teams is good. But Zoom took over. I'm talking about people who are 65, 70. These are people who it's hard to explain how to use Excel. Now try to explain them how do you turn on a VPN.
Careful with that age number now, buddy.
What's that?
Careful with that age number. I just applied for Medicare.
There were some days where, and like I said, I think I don't take it personally. I know people are frustrated. You're kind of coming into a situation when you need to teach someone something. They're already at a disadvantage. They think, oh, this guy thinks I'm stupid. No, I don't think anyone's stupid. I think you just don't know. I don't know. So let's do it together. I think earlier, Charles, you were talking about turning a computer off. A lot of times I do that because it will resolve the issue, but other times I do it because I'm right there with the user from point one. So if there's a problem, I can say, okay, tell me what you're doing. Do this, right? Now tell me what you're doing. Do that. And then we'll hit the error together. So hopefully my experience, I'll be able to determine what's causing the error with the user as we're going along doing it. It's a process. And now they feel like we're in it together. So they're not being told or lectured. Yeah, if I were to say anything about my support skills, the pandemic helped me immensely to talk to people. Because normally I'm like, do this, do that. You're doing it wrong, very terse, very quick. And I've learned that I'll save myself more time if I'm just taking the walk with them, and we'll figure it out. So, yeah. Until I look to see how much someone's making, and then I get really, no. I'm joking. That's a joke.
Sure we are. We don't think alike on that. None of us do. Marcus, did the cyber defense competition help you in any way to either get employment, keep your job, or have you be a better person?
Absolutely. On all accounts. The only thing that makes me bad is, like I said, when you're in the job and you learn the things and you do them on a regular daily basis. Oh, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, that was so easy. How did I not have us do this? How did I not have us do that? How I can look, oh, that is the most frustrating part, is just knowing, oh, we should have won that thing. Oh my God. But coming in and the concept of the competition, so I don't know if you remember this, Jay, but the first one we did, I was just kind of an observer / assistant helper. And that one was Scandex. I believe it was the nuclear power plant.
Yes.
Yeah. So we would have to go through different scenarios. We had a little light board on our desktop where they could turn off certain lights and things like that. But overall, locking down permissions, oh my God. It's
second
so
nature.
yeah, it's so basic. And now
yeah, your picture is still on our website.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that team. It's still the picture.
Where I recognized him from.
I know, right? America's Most Wanted, right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
You might want to take that down if you want people to join the program. I don't know what you're thinking.
I don't know. We've been using your likeness without paying you for a while. So talking about being uncompensated.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to. I'm going to SAG.
Right.
I will be outside with my picket.
It's recorded now too, Marcus. So
it is. It's recorded. John's gonna pay you.
You've admitted it. Pay up. Pay me.
Yeah, I remember it was snowing that day. Do you remember that, Marcus? It was snowing. Jody was there too. I remember it was us three in the parking lot, and we were talking, and it was snowing, and we're like, "Oh man, this is like a bad omen." And I won't say how this nickname came about because this will be broadcasted on YouTube. Doesn't really matter, but I know I remember saying this is like a bad omen. And we were standing outside my truck, that F-150 that I had. And I look at you, you look at me, and you're like, man, this is really weird. This is like a hex that's upon us. And you took off because you came out kind of heated, needed a break. And then you took off, went back inside and finished up. So
remember the competition was not what I expected. The days were a lot longer than I thought they were actually going to be. The environment was a lot more stressful than I thought it was going to be. The second one we did, I believe, was the prison. And man, they really had a good time with that one. That was the one where it was like, oh, we were letting out murderers. Do you think this is funny? And I'm like, whoa, we're new. We just got brought in. You pissed off the other IT team. Don't piss us off.
Right.
It's an experience. Yeah. After that, going into a real job, you don't have days like that. Like, well, potentially you could.
Yeah, I guess you could if you had to spin up a cold site during a disaster or something.
That would definitely be someone else's problem too.
And you're certain parts of Seattle right now, or maybe Portland.
Oh yeah.
So I appreciate you guys taking the time and talking to us. It is with the utmost gratitude. I really do thank both of you for showing up.
Anytime.
Busy schedule, family stuff, life stuff, whatever. This will go up on our YouTube channel, the Clover Park YouTube channel, under Security Burrito. And it's your kind of message, because we could sit there and kind of yak all day long, but we're not the ones going through the program and really kind of experiencing that other point of view. And, Marcus, you had said we had changed your life. If we do our jobs, we kind of hope that's the effect. And we know that going into this, that we kind of are, with all respect, we're kind of parents that provide a structured atmosphere. So that's conducive to learning. So you, at the end of the day, you can achieve employment. And it sounds like to me that we did our job, and now hopefully one day you'll return that favor, come back to us and replace us three. And that's what I'm saying. Well,
No.
Marcus is shaking his head, but think about it. You have customers looking at you, counting on you, and there is no difference between the two.
I think it's
our customers.
When I was in the course, Don, you always had the rough exterior, but I loved it because you were very point blank. This is this, this is that, this is Windows. How much of the marketplace does it own? Screw Apple. Apple doesn't own nothing. Linux doesn't do anything. I was like, yeah, that's my guy. I understand what he's saying, but I hate it. And I couldn't be around that many people with that many questions, that many days in a row. No. So what you do is a gift. You guys are great at it. There is no replacing you. There's just not.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be surprised. It's the most reluctant person that's the perfect pick for the job.
The opinions of myself or any guest do not reflect the opinions of Clover Park Technical College. Thanks for listening.